So you might have heard that Mr. Zohran Mamdani, the incoming mayor of the American city of New York, perhaps better known as New Israel, given how things are going, he's been reneging on basically all of his promises. He's gone from being like, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu to, well, you know, it's possible that I could do anything when anyone comes to New York. You know, he's gone from saying like, I'm a committed anti-Zionist, I'm pro-Palestine, to, of course I endorse fucking Hakeem Jeffries. You know, he's a great guy. Need I remind you that this is who the Hakeem Jeffries who Mamdani endorsed is?
And Israel prevailed, and so I'm confident that when it's all said and done, we're going to stand together. Israel today, Israel tomorrow, Israel forever. God bless you.
So that's the guy who Mamdani loves now and will not support a primary challenge against. Oh, that's cool. That's nice. You know, this guy who, in large part, ran on his supposed credibility as a pro-Palestinian activist, which he's now just abandoning all up. And the way that he and his fans are dealing with that is by saying, oh, he was never pro-Palestine. You know, he never ran on Palestine. What are you talking about? He's the mayor of New York. What do you expect him to do? You know, his job is to give us affordability. Yeah, I mean, we get it. That's what it was always for. It was always to get treats for yourself. You know, obviously, New York is a fucking massive city, the second city of Zionism in the entire world. That is very easy. You know, it's basically a battleground against Israel. But, you know, now they just pretend they don't care about it, and they win it. You know, he was never pro-Palestinian in the first place. Oh, great. But, you know, he's just been doing betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. Jessica Tisch, his police commissioner, his most important political appointment. You know, why not put a fanatical Zionist there to go and fucking mass arrest anti-Israel protesters for anti-Semitism? Why not? It's just how this shit goes. You know, it doesn't matter how radical someone postures as during the campaign. If you run as a Democrat, you know, they're going to make you theirs. They're going to hand you their consulting agency, their consulting firms. You know, they're going to negotiate with you to bring you over to their side. The point of this is to have someone posture as more radical than they are. Empty, like, meaningless phrases. It's like, you know, I could do pro-Palestinian things. I perhaps could, so that you can, like, retain the votes of really stupid people, retain a level of plausible deniability, and then you just don't do anything once you're actually in office. It's the Sanders, the AOC. We've seen it a billion times before. So what I want to do here is I want to make predictions for what's to come. I want to make predictions that you'll be able to come back to in the future and be like, oh my God, he called that. Because these things are actually really quite predictable. The element of probability here is nowhere near as much as you would think, right? It's not like I'm just throwing things out. It's a really educated sort of prediction, because this is the sort of thing that happens always. You know, it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to tell you that Mamdani was going to turn the second he won the primary, because that's just what happens when you're in the Democratic Party. They make you theirs. You think that you're going to make them your bitch? They're the ones of the entire fucking party. They're the ones with the connections to fucking power. They're the ones who are run by power. What do you think you are? You think you're going to change them from within? You little baby. You poor little baby. You just go change the Nazi party from within next. So this shit's easy to predict. That's why I can predict these things, okay? I'm going to make some very specific predictions here. The first one's a really fucking easy one. Mamdani has been promising that he's going to arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York City. Anyone who bought this in the first place, anyone who bought this meaningless rhetoric in the first place is a fucking moron. You could have thought for 2 seconds, how the fuck is he going to arrest Netanyahu? The US isn't a party to the ICC. It's not a party to the Rome Statute. They don't enforce ICC warrants there. So what do you imagine that he was going to do? He's gonna order fucking Jessica Tisch to arrest Netanyahu? You believe that at any point? You fucking moron. That was never happening, obviously, so he's not going to arrest Netanyahu. In fact, I guarantee you, Netanyahu is going to visit New York City within the next 2 years. Honestly, probably way earlier. Give it 6 months, if I'm feeling spicy. Within 6 months is probably a safer bet. Netanyahu is going to visit New York City and nothing's going to happen to him. That's the first point. That is a very easy prediction. A joke of a prediction. Super fucking easy. 2, Jessica Tisch is going to act precisely the exact same way that she did before, but Zohran is going to make progressive-sounding grunts that will make his superfans happy with it anyway. That's a really easy prediction, honestly. So, recently, Adams, the outgoing mayor, signed an executive order, a series of executive order to prohibit mayoral appointees and agency staff from boycotting anything to do with Israel, and government agencies in New York City from boycotting anything to do with Israel, as well as prohibiting protests outside synagogues that support Israeli colonialism. Now, I guarantee you, 100%, what happened here is there was a discussion between the Mamdani and Adams teams regarding how can we get some sort of anti-BDS legislation in, because that's what the Democrats want. How can we get that in without Mamdani taking the fall for it? And the way that they decided was that Adams would do it before Mamdani is in office, and then Mamdani would just not repeal it. So I'm telling you right now, Mamdani is going to leave this in. When he was asked about this, he didn't even say, yeah, I'm getting rid of that. He didn't say anything like that. He just said, anything's possible. He just didn't rule out the possibility. He didn't say he would. He just didn't rule out. Incoming Mayor Zohran Mamdani on Thursday did not rule out revoking an executive order issued by outgoing Mayor Eric Adams that threatens city government employees of disciplinary action if they take any official actions that discriminate against Israel or its citizens. Mamdani's response was, "The mayor is free to issue as many executive orders as he'd like, and then we'll be taking a look at every single one once we actually enter into City Hall." So he didn't actually pledge to change anything. He didn't say, I'm going to get rid of that. He just said, technically, I can change that if I want. He went from making statements like, yes, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu, to perhaps it's possible that I may arrest Netanyahu, from I support BDS to perhaps it's possible that I might support BDS. You guys know precisely what's happening here. So I'm predicting that he is not going to rescind the Adams anti-BDS orders, nor the Adams prohibition on protesting outside genocidal pro-Zionist synagogues. That's another prediction that I'm making here. How about another spicy prediction? Within 2 years, Mamdani is going to meet with an Israeli government official. It might be a private meeting that they try to keep off the record that nonetheless gets leaked into the press, or it could just outright be an official public meeting. It's going to happen. Mark my words. It's going to happen. Remember, when it happens, bad empanadas told you first. How about this one for you? Within his term, Mamdani is going to visit Israel. Within the next 4 years, Zohran Mamdani, in his position as the mayor of New York, is going to do a visit to Israel. It's going to happen. Mark my words. When it happens, you come back to this video and you clip this and you post it everywhere because it was so predictable. This is a fucking Democrat. This is what Democrats do. They do what the party wants them to do, while some of them make progressive sounding grunts to mislead morons, or to make people who want to feel like they're radicals feel good about themselves when they don't actually care about the actual politics. Now this one's pretty obvious, I feel, but Mamdani is going to oversee an anti-Semitism crackdown like you've never seen before. And he's going to justify it with wishy-washy liberal Zionist sounding grunts. Him and Tish are going to implement the most repressive anti-Semitism crackdown at the behest of the ADL that you've ever seen in your life. Hope you don't post anything anti-Israel on social media. Mamdani's going to put you in the slammer for that one. Again, why is this so easily predictable? It's simple. This is what happens when you are a member of the Democratic Party. It doesn't matter how radical you supposedly are at the start. It doesn't matter how radical you posture as. Once you're in, once you get anywhere near any sort of important political position, they will make you their bitch. Because that's obviously what happens when you join a party that's way bigger than you. They make you theirs. And ultimately, those who are content with endless Democratic Party entryism, who don't want to even try anything else, it's not that they're content with it, it's that they're just part and parcel with the Democratic Party. They're just members of the Democratic Party. They support the Democratic Party. They just think it's too lame to outright say so. So they just say, what else do you expect us to do? The Democratic Party is the only viable option. I'm actually really radical, but we have to vote for the Democrats and support Democratic Party candidates and run as Democrats until the end of time. That's why. They don't give a shit. And clip part of this video when this stuff happens and send it to them. It was so predictable. You're just going to see them making endless excuses for this stuff. And you should be better than that. You should be better than them and do something different.